All right, this is a great job, and I'm going to give a couple of tips or things for you to think about. They may help, they may not. Um, One thing that we can do that I would think about doing is getting your dog tugging before you even come into the ring at all, and see if you can keep the dog on the tug as you go through the gate. So that's one thing, because eventually you can transfer that behavior to the leash. And that's, we kind of got to think about our long-term goals. If it's our long-term goal to have our dog tugging on the leash and to bring that into the ring, then we want to go ahead and start trying to do that now. Now, maybe that you tried to do it and the dog wasn't doing it, but this is what I mean by we should have a plan for our FEO. Like, we need to think, what is our long-term goal here? How are we going to be able to get this performance into all of our other runs, right? Because otherwise, what happens is if we do this kind of the same way and we don't really have a plan and we don't progress with our FEO runs, ultimately the dog will learn to distinguish FEO and non-FEO runs, right? It's a new form of being ring wise, and they know. And the way they know is the next tip I'm going to give you, and that's the presence of the toy. So usually when we're teaching teaching a dog a new skill, we use the toy, and the toy is a lure. And then later, as the dog becomes very good at the behavior, the toy becomes a distraction, not a lure. Its presence makes it more difficult. So in the beginning, it's paradoxical. In the beginning, it makes it easier to do the behavior. Later on, it makes it harder to do the behavior, and we put the toys in obnoxious places, like the dog has to ignore it or turn away from it in order to do it. I did see Carissa's suggestion of doing multiple start lines. I do like that. Remember, the timer's not going to start till here, so I'm just going to leave a timer here in the bottom corner and just let it run. You mentioned wanting to work on the A-frame and being able to get into A-frame. So one thing that you can really consider doing is not doing the rest of the course. So we can go here and into the tunnel, and then come here and then do your A-frame, do a jump, do another A-frame, do a jump, do another A-frame, and get in 3 A-frames and 1 start line. Or, as Carissa mentioned, maybe we get 2 or 3 start lines here and then do our 2 A-frames. So it's kind of tough to know. It's a little bit like gamblers. You kind of got to guess how much time that you're using up. Let me go back because I think I cleared it, so I lost our timer here. I'm going to not mark. This way we can keep the time going. The handling itself is fine. I thought everything was really good. Handling is something where you've really improved on and incorporated blind crosses. I think everything looks really good. So you can see it feels like forever. You've used about half your time now. And now you have your 2 start lines down. We're going to work on our 2 A-frames. And so I need to ask you, what is our criteria on A-frame number 1? It looks like it's a 2 on, 2 off. Oh, whoops. And now I've lost it. Okay, we'll do the time at the end. And then you opt to do the weaves. So again, if you're really laser focused, right? And we're saying, okay, coming into this FEO, I'm working on 2 things and 2 things only, start lines and A-frames. Now we come in here and the dog comes off. Okay, very clearly, all 4 feet off. Now this is the time where you should not reward, and you should go back and do it again. Or you don't have to go back and do it again. You can go on, but just not reward. So what I would do is I would bring the dog to me, or usually we bring them and we ask for a simple behavior, a spin, a hand touch or something, and then we try it again. It'd be nice if you tried it from the other direction, but I think it's fine to put them over this jump or jump this way and then do the A-frame again and see if this time they'll give you the correct behavior. But this should be a non-reward, and this is what I mean by we need to have a plan, right? So what you did was great, and then we are here on 2 A-frames, and you rewarded one, and then you rewarded the other one, and there were 2 different criteria, right? So to me, this is a problem. Now, it could be that for you, you will accept either of those things, right? If the dog comes down and is in 4 on, 2 on, 2 off, or 4 on the floor, both of those are acceptable. That's fine. You can just tell me that. And as long as you feel like it's clear to the dog, right? And the dog will show us, right? The more the dog creeps, the less sure they are, right? The faster the dog moves into position, the more clear they are about criteria. Usually that's the case. Obviously, there are other things that can slow them down. It's physically difficult to do, so injury. If they're concerned about the environment, that could slow them down. Depending on the move you're doing at the end, sometimes if you come in here and do a front cross, dogs will slow down here. They don't want to run into you. Things like that. All right, but I just wanted to point that out to you. But obviously using the toy is a great thing. Okay, what I'm going to do is come back to the beginning now and I just want to blaze through the time. Basically, I'm just going to fast forward through it to give you a sense of where the time is. So I'll put it in the middle now. See, so we've done the one start line. I would have rewarded after that one start line. And here's your first reward at about 15 seconds. And it takes you a good 15 seconds to get set up for the next one. So again, I would mark and then produce my hidden toy. And the reason that I like the hidden toy, now it's going to be harder for the dog to figure out, is this FEO run? Is this a non-FEO run? Right? That's what happens with dogs that get food, right? Practice, we have food. Mom has food in the ring during the run. At trials, she doesn't. There's your other reward. And now I'm going to play it so I can hear the audio. And I'll tell you when the buzzer goes off. Okay, the buzzer just went off. Okay, so they gave you exactly 1 minute. Right? So what happens if you're at the end of the buzzer? I think this is still a non-reward. You say, oh, okay, you're out of time. You call them to you, have them touch your hand, then you reward and tug with them for touching the hand. So the dog's like, darn it, we could have done more, but I missed it. I messed it up. All right, but I think that's what we have to do in that spot. If you have any questions about that, let me know.